CNBC TV 18, celebrating 19 years of business leadership.
Welcome back to this special edition of Taking Stock. We're going to take stock of the exit polls and the impact that they will have on the markets next week. I have been speaking with Mihir Vora of Max Life, Ajay Srivastava of Dimensions, Deven Choksi of KR Choksi, and Vikas Khemani of Cardalius. Gentlemen, well, let's resume the conversation. There is every chance, I mean, even the US exit polls went wrong, the Brexit exit polls went wrong, or rather the pre-polls. So what if we have a pleasant surprise on Tuesday? It doesn't turn out to be a 3-1 away from the BJP. On the contrary, it's only one for Congress and the rest go to the BJP. Are we in for a super-duper rally, Ajay?
No, I don't think so. You know, Lata, I'll go back to your thesis. And I think that's a thesis which kind of, interesting to say that fact that if the ruling party wins, only the market will go up only in that instance. The fact is that the opposition was in the power for 8 years or 10 years, and we had a bumper stock market. So I think as a market participant, I don't see that major advantage of the present ruling dispensation being the only one which can address the investors' issues. And I think we have seen a bumper 10 years, we have seen a poor 5 years, you may have a majority, but economy isn't a poor. So having said that, there is no finite thesis, the fact that only the ruling party wins, then the market will go up. So let's leave the thesis aside. Number two, if the verdict comes 4-1, of course there will be a little bit of, let me put it this way, short covering, little bit of buying. But as I said, that the market enthusiasm is tempered with the fact that the real economy, the GDP is falling, the consumer demand is pretty insipid at this point of time. You're not going to see any great numbers from corporates. We have got all the cuts in earnings. We're not going to see any great corporates. So yes, you may have a blip or two if there's a 4-1 result on this side, but it's not going to be lasting, because lasting will only come because in next 45 days, you've got the results coming out, and the results are not going to be very good for most of the companies. So even people who are buying will be buying for a very short-lived leg up, and then will sell out. So I don't think so. A 4-1 of this side is going to give a very major leg up. A 4-1 on the other side is going to give a major steep fall to the market. Market knows the fundamentals are coming, the results are coming, is focused on that, Lata.
Okay, I'm going to come back and check out whether others have a similar sanguine view or a disturbed view of the third quarter results. But first, let me just get this, likely positive scenario. I mean, this is how the market interprets it. What's your sense, Vikas? If it does turn out that the Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh governments are going the BJP way, is there a likelihood of a big spurt in the markets, or do you, like Ajay, think that no, it'll be a one-day wonder at best?
As I was saying earlier, Lata, that any outcome would have a 2-day effect or 2 or 3 day, few days effect, and so if it is even a majorly positive, it will have a few days effect. Of course, it will start building a narrative around 2019, but that is not going to really lead market all the way. Ultimately, it will go back to day-to-day stuff, fundamentals, how market is thinking about economy, earnings, and how the global events pan out. I think eventually we are in a fairly as far as the macro and micros are concerned, fairly uncertain and volatile period from our next 1 or 2 quarters, given whatever the state of global as well as the local economy. Every day we have sort of fairly volatile news flow and outcome happening. So I think we are in that stage of market, and I don't think in this kind of stage of market any positive outcome will kind of lead to a directional sustainable rally. And having said that, still 2019 is elections are away. So I think we will go back to day-to-day stuff, and we will have to make our hypothesis how market thinks about earnings and fundamentals, and that's where I leave it.
The rally that began over there lasted all the way till 1.5 years. It was only in the March of 2015 that we started retracing the steps. We went all the way to 9,000 from about 5,500 when the first state election results came in September of 2013. That's a big march we had when we were becoming increasingly certain of a majority government and a stable majority government in the center. I mean, that was a massive rally. So I still feel that a political dissonance in the centre is likely to hurt the markets badly, and that's why I repeated my question so many times. But okay, all of you think that for the moment it's going to be the economic narrative that's going to dominate. On the economic narrative, are you as pessimistic as Ajay is, or shall I say cautious as Ajay is? You think the third quarter earnings are going to be a bit of a bomb?
I don't know whether it will be a bomb, but definitely we have seen earnings downgrades on an overall basis after the last quarter results.
But after that, we had a big oil cut.
Oil cut, yes, but we also had a GDP downgrade by the RBI. So, you know, there is a sense that there is a bit of a slowdown on the consumption side. Now, whether it's linked to the NBFC situation or because of the rural situation is something that we are not clear on. But there is some kind of a slowdown for sure. But yes, you're right. Oil is a huge boost, and probably we can have a V-shaped kind of a, mini recovery, so to say, if this persists. Okay,
Ajay, you don't think oil can make a big difference? And now I'm talking pure economics. You don't think the fact that oil is depressed, and of course the rupee is also stabilized, is going to add up to much in terms of the third quarter numbers? Third quarter is pretty much a washout?
First of all, Lata, the oil price reduction, which you talked 30%, has not been passed on to the consumers. So consumers are still paying much higher prices than what they should be paying. So the pass down effect is less than 12 to 14%. So it's not the whole oil price benefit has gone to the consumers or to the industry for that matter. That's one. So the oil price impact is going to be very minimal because what benefit has come is very minimal to the end consumers. The number two is there is a fundamental problem of demand in the system at this point of time. You know, oil can help you to some extent. It's also a question of sentiments, also a question of job creation, also a question of economic expansion. And you know, the fact, the beauty of this market, and I love to state it, is that it reflects so correctly the state of the GDP and the economy. You don't need GDP data to tell you the story. What you need to look at is the mid-cap index, which is a wide and tell you where the market is headed. So oil will not help you too much because you haven't got the benefit of it. But I think the big challenge is, how do you get the demand going again? How do you get people to start spending money? And I think that is where the problem lies today. You've seen the problem of Maruti, you've seen problems of other consumer companies. You know, if Maruti has a bigger problem that it never faced ever in its life, you can imagine the crisis on the ground, how much it is. Maruti was a bellwether for this country. If it is in trouble, the lesser brands have a bigger problem on their hands.
Yes, Mr. Bhargav was extremely cautious, though of course he said that we've had 2 good years and this third year we have not had any new launch, and therefore he's expecting that double digits looks very difficult in FY19. And even FY20 was a bit skittish, but still thought that they could make a match of it. Vikash, I wanted to spin this slightly differently. You also sounded cautious, of course, with the number of downgrades that came after the second quarter. But do you think the government might do something wrong in this anxiety if the results went against them?
I don't think, if you ask me, this government is going to deviate specifically in terms of, let's say, for this were to go against, they might make a little bit more populist noise. They might make, but I think if you see all these state elections, this government or all governments have been offering freebies, loan waivers, and also that noise has been going on for quite some time. So I don't think you can do too much beyond this point, and I think that should remain just more political, dialogues rather than anything else. So I would say it will be more of same. I don't think they will do anything. They might push some of the investments little faster, might push the execution.
I see there are some levers. I'll tell you an area that I have to report on with a little more diligence. The Reserve Bank government areas. They could push hard on the Reserve Bank to take its pedal off the banks in the prompt corrective action. That's already work in progress, and many of them, let me tell you, the numbers look still very, very difficult. And if they are forced to go out and lend and probably buy up some of the difficult real estate loans, because that is where the real estate guys are saying, we are going to lay off people. That's the narrative you're getting from the political commentariat. Do you think, Ajay, that some lapses can be done? Grab the Reserve Bank's capital and push in some money in terms of income, basic income for some BPL families, or maybe push hard on lending by the PSUs. Can some policy mistakes be committed?
It's difficult to say mistakes, but definitely, as I said, started by saying something will be done. If they lose or look to be that the trajectory is pretty
you said something positive.
down, they will do something. And what...
Ajay, your spin was that they will be chastised and they would do something positive. It's quite possible that in anxiety you flap your wings and do something wrong.
You know, they can't do more wrong than what they've already done. I think the wrongs have been committed already. The MSME is down and out. The demonetization, let's be honest about it. We need to understand what RBI has done. The central bank has absolutely strangled the MSME sector in the way the banking has never been done before. So you have a economy, GDP going down, credit cycles being tightened, NPA being tightened. There is no space for the MSME at all. So there is some logic that the government is talking to RBI and saying, listen, you need to ease up. Everything can't be done in a matter of 3 months. So I'm just saying that what we may perceive, or some of us may perceive, a major negative or a mistake, I think is correcting a wrong which has happened in the last 24 months, started with demonetization, ended up with RBI strangling the whole system on credit policy. You know, even if you look at America, they did a top and then they let the economy come back to normal. They did a lot of financing, deficit financing. Okay. What have we done? We followed the textbook. We killed the industry. So I think what you may think is a mistake, I think will become a boon. In fact, that's why I said I'm 100% sure if the result is wrong, some of these steps, which some of them say is wrong, will kind of come and revive this economy and boost for them. And I hope it happens.
Fair point, Amol. That's always a debatable issue, but unfortunately we are out of time. The message from our gallery of experts is that the state elections, if it is indeed a victory for the BJP, will perhaps be a minor positive for the markets, and if it is not a victory for the BJP, as the exit polls seem to indicate, it will be a minor disturbance. On the contrary, Ajay actually feels that it would be positive and it might spur the government into some more positive action by the time, the whistle is blown in early March and the Code of Conduct kicks in. So something positive can be done in the next 3 months. But all the three experts are a little worried about the state of the economy and the state of the earnings that will come in the third quarter. Vikas, Ajay, Deven and Mihir, thank you very much for joining me in this conversation. We wrap up on the show, but more special commentary on the exit polls in just a minute.
CNBC TV 18, celebrating 19 years of business leadership.